Luzon, Philippine Islands. January 18, 1945, 6:12. The jungle waited, patient and silent, as though it had long since learned the art of observation. Fog lay thick over the low ridges and broken riverbeds, settling into the crevices of shattered earth and the hollowed remains of trees felled by weeks of bombardment. Dawn did not break. It crept. Pale gray light seeped between the dense canopy leaves, revealing nothing fully, yet exposing every shadow with subtle cruelty. Every leaf, every broken branch, every fallen tree became a potential hiding place for death. Somewhere ahead, muffled artillery shells pounded the jungle floor. Their cadence was irregular, 2 then 4 then silence, alerting soldiers to danger without revealing its source. Shell fragments shredded branches and sprayed the undergrowth with soil. Soldiers of the 32nd Infantry Regiment, 7th U.S. Infantry Division, had learned not to flinch at sound alone, but they had also learned that fear was as lethal as the enemy's rifles. Each day in Luzon had become a test of patience, precision, and endurance. Amid this looming uncertainty, Private First Class Eli Warren lay prone behind the trunk of a fallen Nara tree, its massive girth nearly 3 feet across. The wood was dense and aged, offering protection from glancing bullets, though not from the keen eyes that scoured the undergrowth. Warren's rifle rested across his forearms, the leather sling creaking faintly as he adjusted its position. It was not an Army-issued rifle. It was a civilian, bolt-action .30-06 hunting rifle, purchased by Warren through a mail-order catalog before the war. Its stock was polished walnut, scratched and worn from years of civilian use. It had no bayonet lug, no military markings, no approval from the quartermaster's office. Its scope, a civilian 4-power magnification, had been meticulously maintained by Warren himself. During training, soldiers had mocked the weapon. "You're going to get yourself killed with that thing," one sergeant had said. "Better off with a standard-issue M1903. Warren had only smiled faintly and said nothing. Now, in the dense Philippine jungle, that rifle was the only advantage he could claim. The strategic situation on Luzon in January 1945 was grim. American forces had landed in force on the western coast weeks earlier and were pushing inland, attempting to secure the Central Plains before the rainy season rendered movement impossible. The Japanese defenders no longer relied on counterattacks in open terrain. Instead, they relied on concealment, patience, and precise, devastating sniper fire. In the preceding week, Warren's battalion had lost 19 men to sniper fire alone. Most had been picked off while moving between positions, a few while digging foxholes in what should have been secure zones, one killed while lighting a cigarette at dusk. Every man knew the sniper could be anywhere, behind a fallen tree, in a hollow log, perched 20 feet above on a makeshift platform. Japanese snipers were rarely acting alone. They moved in pairs or trios, rotating positions, disappearing into the jungle with the ease of ghosts. They had learned the forest, its sounds and shadows, as intimately as Warren had learned the rivers and hills of Idaho. Yet Warren possessed his own mastery, the patient, almost ritualized practice of a lifelong hunter. He could wait for hours, observing the faintest signs of movement, predicting the trajectory of a single leaf displaced in the wind. The first light revealed a narrow stretch of jungle ahead, roughly 80 yards across, a natural funnel between 2 ridges. It was a corridor the Japanese could not help but watch, for any American movement would be funneled through it. Warren adjusted his breathing, slow and deliberate, counting silently in cycles of 4. Wind speed, negligible. Humidity, high at 92%. Temperature, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Distance to nearest tree cover, 25 yards. Time since last enemy contact, 16 hours. Somewhere in that stretch of jungle, a Japanese sniper was watching. The paradox of the battlefield was evident in every sense. Warren was vastly outnumbered. The terrain was dense, hostile, and favoring the enemy. His rifle was unconventional, untested by military command, mocked by peers. And yet, there was a calm in him born not of bravado but of preparation, of knowledge, of necessity. By 6:45, a faint movement caught his eye. Leaves shifted, a branch bent ever so slightly. He adjusted his scope, centering the distortion. At roughly 210 yards, partially obscured by ferns and shadow, the glint of a rifle barrel betrayed a sniper's position. Warren's mind cataloged the details: estimated height of enemy, 5 feet 8 inches, prone position atop slight elevation approximately 4 feet above the ground, angle of line of sight, 12 degrees downward, likely field of vision, 50 yards radius, estimated reaction time, 1.2 seconds. He did nothing. In the world of sniping, action came after calculation. Patience was survival. The sun climbed higher, the fog dissipating slowly. Each second was laden with risk. The first bullet fired could mean the difference between life and death, not only for Warren but for the men depending on him to secure the jungle corridor. By 7:03 hours, the first shot rang out. The bullet struck a helmet deliberately placed atop a rifle barrel 50 yards to Warren's left, a decoy he had prepared the night before. The steel rang sharply, the helmet spinning into the dirt. The sound echoed through the jungle like a warning, and the forest held its breath. Warren remained motionless, calculating. The shot had come from high ground, approximately 40 feet elevation. Distance, 210 yards. Wind, minimal. Chance of a follow-up attack, high. This was the opening act of a 4-day engagement that would test not only Warren's skill but the perception of the rifle once derided as a joke. For every man in his battalion, the jungle was a theater of uncertainty, each movement fraught with deadly consequences. As the sun rose fully, casting sharp streaks through the canopy, Warren made a subtle adjustment. His rifle's leather sling creaked softly. His eyes remained fixed. Somewhere ahead, a sniper waited. The first of 11 enemy marksmen over the next 4 days. And no one, not the Japanese, not his own officers, not the men in his company, yet understood the quiet transformation that was about to unfold. For a rifle once dismissed and a soldier underestimated, the jungle was preparing to bear witness. Warren did not flinch. He waited. And in the shadowed corridors of Luzon's northern jungles, the faintest hint of movement promised a reckoning that history would almost forget. The question loomed, silent but inescapable. Could one man, armed with a mail-order rifle, tip the scales against the unseen, patient and deadly sharpshooters of the Japanese defense? The answer would emerge slowly, through tension measured in hours, calculated in inches, and decided by the imperceptible rhythm of breath and trigger. The first shot had already sounded. Warren remained prone behind the Nara tree, his pulse steady despite the tension. The helmet decoy had served its purpose, drawing attention and confirming the enemy sniper's position. Warren assessed the terrain. The narrow jungle corridor 80 yards wide, funneled all movement through exposed areas. Foliage density was approximately 65%, visibility in patches, 25 to 30 yards. The ground was soft from the previous night's rainfall, leaving faint impressions of animal and human tracks, potential clues to enemy movement. He adjusted his scope, estimating distance to the target, 210 yards. Wind was negligible, humidity still high at 92%, temperature, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. The sniper was perched atop a slight rise, partially concealed behind a fallen log in low shrubbery. Warren exhaled slowly. Bolt-action rifles required patience, even more so at long range. He aligned the crosshairs with the center of mass and fired. The report cracked sharply through the forest. The sniper's head jerked slightly, then collapsed forward onto the leaf litter. The forest swallowed the sound. The first kill was confirmation. The rifle, once ridiculed, was accurate under battlefield conditions. By 8 o'clock hours, Warren had relocated 20 yards forward, using fallen logs and dense ferns for cover. From this position, he observed another sniper operating closer to the ridge's base. Estimated distance, 175 yards. Height above ground, approximately 3 feet. Angle of line of sight, 10 degrees downward toward the path where Warren's platoon had advanced earlier. The sniper fired at a U.S. patrol of 4 men approaching the corridor. 2 were hit instantly. Warren remained hidden, observing. He calculated the bullet trajectory, factoring wind, distance, humidity, and angle. When the sniper adjusted to fire again, Warren's shot struck true. 2 enemy snipers down within hours. The jungle becomes a battlefield, 10:15 to 14:45 hours. By mid-morning the Japanese adapted. Snipers began rotating in teams of 2 or 3, taking advantage of every natural concealment. Some perched atop hollowed tree trunks, others crawled along the forest floor, indistinguishable from the detritus. Warren advanced cautiously, checking every ridge, fallen log, and shadowed path. He observed an enemy sniper moving laterally behind a fern's cover, distance, 90 yards. The Japanese operator paused to adjust his scope, unaware of Warren's presence. The shot was clean. The sniper collapsed. Warren paused to reload, checking the bolt and magazine. The rifle, a civilian bolt action, performed flawlessly under damp conditions. During this time, Warren's mind catalogued every detail. Terrain slope, 12 degrees toward the ravine. Visibility, 30 yards in patches obscured by ferns and fog. Wind gusts, 2 to 3 miles per hour, occasionally shifting trajectory. Enemy positions, 3 confirmed, 2 suspected. The jungle was a theater of uncertainty. Every movement carried risk. Each breath, each slight adjustment could reveal position and draw fire. The afternoon ambush, 14:45 to 17:30 hours. By 14:45, Warren's battalion was tasked with clearing a supply route used by enemy combat engineers. Visibility was poor. Rainfall had begun again, sheets of water soaking the canopy and undergrowth. Mud clung to boots and uniforms, slowing movement. Warren crawled ahead, rifle tight against his shoulder, scope fogged but cleared carefully with cotton. At 120 yards, he spotted a sniper hiding under a collapsed bamboo structure. Distance, angle, elevation, and exposure were meticulously calculated. The sniper fired first. The round struck a nearby tree, sending bark splintering toward Warren. Recoil absorbed, he returned fire. The second bullet found its mark. The sniper fell silently into the mud. Nearby, another sniper attempted to flank. Warren anticipated movement, tracking shadows. When the man rose to fire, Warren's next shot struck the chest. 3 kills in less than an hour. But the jungle was not yet finished. Nightfall and stealth, 17:30 to 2000 hours. As night approached, Warren faced the most dangerous part of jungle combat: darkness. Humidity increased to near 95%, temperature dropped to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Rain poured steadily, saturating clothes, gear, and rifle. Iron sights were now essential as the scope fogged entirely. Warren used small, deliberate movements to relocate closer to the enemy's likely overnight positions. Each move was calculated in seconds. Head up, scan, move 20 inches, pause, exhale, repeat. At 19:45, a rustle indicated movement 40 yards to his left. Warren froze. The figure of a Japanese sniper emerged, crouching over a small fire used to cook rations. Bolt action, civilian rifle. Heart racing but controlled. Breath slow. Aim steady. The shot rang true, silencing the sniper and extinguishing the fire. By 2000 hours, Warren counted 5 kills for the day. Patrol reports confirmed 2 U.S. soldiers wounded but alive. The battalion survived the day largely intact. Day 2, January 19, 1945, 6 to 18:30 hours. Dawn broke again, this time revealing the jungle corridor in faint orange light. Rain had stopped but the air remained thick. Warren repositioned 25 yards forward, assessing terrain. Fog lingered in pockets. Tracks of enemy movement were visible. Footprints in mud, displaced leaves, broken twigs. At 7:12 he observed 2 snipers communicating via hand signals, one perched atop a low ridge, the other camouflaged in a hollowed log. Distance to nearest enemy, 185 yards. Elevation, 3.5 feet above ground. The first sniper fired. The round struck a fallen tree, sending fragments toward Warren. He remained prone, breathing slow, calculating lead and trajectory. A single shot from his mail-order rifle found the target. The sniper slumped. The second sniper moved to retaliate but underestimated Warren's position. Another shot, confirmed kill. By mid-afternoon, Warren had eliminated 4 more snipers, bringing the total to 9 enemy snipers neutralized over 2 days. Environmental and technical challenges were constant. Rifle bolt required lubrication due to humidity. Scopes fogged repeatedly. Boots soaked, slowing repositioning. Fatigue setting in from 16+ hours of high-alert stalking. Despite these conditions, Warren's focus remained unbroken. Day 3, January 20, 1945, the counter-hunters. Japanese forces adapted. Snipers were now deploying overlapping fields of fire. Warren's patrols slowed to a crawl. Engineers refused to clear paths without cover. At 8:45, Warren crawled toward a fallen ridge line. He spotted a sniper attempting to hide beneath a thick cluster of vines, distance, 95 yards. Rifle cocked, breath slow, trigger controlled. A single round, perfectly calculated. Sniper down. Rain began again. Visibility dropped to 20 to 25 yards. The ground became a quagmire. Ammunition was checked meticulously, every round counted. By evening, Warren had eliminated 2 additional snipers, including 1 veteran attempting to flank from the right. The tally now stood at 11 enemy snipers neutralized over 3 days, an unprecedented feat for a single soldier armed with a civilian rifle in dense jungle terrain. Day 4, January 21, 1945, the final engagements. Heavy rainfall continued, visibility near zero. Warren wrapped his scope in cloth, relying on iron sights. The jungle was nearly silent except for distant artillery and the patter of rain. 2 remaining snipers were confirmed moving along the ridges. Warren advanced slowly, methodically. Every move measured, every pause calculated. The first sniper attempted to fire. Missed. Warren's return shot hit the chest. The last sniper, a skilled veteran, remained hidden in a shallow depression. Warren spent hours tracking subtle signs. A branch displaced, mud patterns, leaf movement. At 16:30 the sniper rose to fire. A single well-aimed shot ended the threat. By nightfall the jungle was silent. 11 enemy snipers had fallen. 4 days of near-constant engagement. Warren's battalion could advance with minimal further resistance along the corridor. Over these 4 days Warren's actions demonstrated superior patience and marksmanship, leveraging civilian hunting skills in combat. Precise environmental assessment including elevation, distance, wind, humidity, and enemy behavior. Efficient ammunition use, critical due to logistical constraints in Luzon. Psychological impact on both sides. American troops moved with more confidence. Japanese snipers became hesitant in future engagements. Technical performance of the rifle. Flawless under high humidity and repeated firing. Civilian-grade optics proved adequate for 200-plus yard shots. Warren's methodical stalking, patient calculations, and disciplined firing created a microcosm of jungle warfare. A battle of observation, anticipation, and lethal precision. The jungle finally exhaled. Rain had ceased, leaving the leaves glistening in a pale morning light, and the air was thick with the scent of wet earth and fallen foliage. Overhead, the forest canopy was silent, save for the occasional caw of a crow or the rustle of small mammals stirring from their hiding places. The 4 days of relentless tension, the hours measured in seconds, the steps weighed in inches, had passed. Private First Class Eli Warren remained prone for a long moment, his rifle resting across his arms, fingers still gripping the stock. The rifle, once the subject of derision and laughter among peers, was silent now. Its barrel bore the residue of 11 confirmed engagements, its bolt lubricated and polished through hours of care under adverse conditions. Warren exhaled slowly. His muscles ached, but the ache was familiar. Fatigue, he knew, was a companion to survival. The men of his battalion began to move cautiously along the cleared jungle corridor, their eyes still scanning the shadows for threats that had already been neutralized. The forest no longer harbored the immediate danger it had just hours before, yet it retained the weight of what had transpired. Every leaf, every broken twig, was a silent witness. The immediate aftermath was tangible. 11 Japanese snipers had been eliminated. 4 days of meticulous, patient combat had claimed them one by one, disrupting enemy surveillance and creating breathing room for the 32nd Infantry Regiment. Casualties on the American side were remarkably low, thanks in large part to Warren's calculated interventions. Injuries had been limited to 2 men wounded by stray sniper fire, both expected to recover fully. The battalion could advance more confidently, supply lines remained operational, and patrols now moved with greater assurance along what had been one of the most perilous stretches of jungle in northern Luzon. Yet the physical aftermath told only half the story. Psychological effects were equally profound. Soldiers whispered about the ghost in the jungle, a single man whose patience, precision, and calm under pressure seemed to defy reason. Officers began requesting Warren to survey terrain before patrols, to identify likely sniper positions, though he often declined. He was not seeking recognition. He was performing a duty that, in his mind, transcended the personal. Each decision, each measured breath had been about survival, his own and that of the men around him. Official recognition was almost non-existent. Army reports listed the neutralization of enemy snipers in terse, factual language, enemy sniper positions eliminated. No further details recorded. There was no citation, no formal acknowledgement of the skill, patience, or ingenuity that had enabled one man to confront and dismantle a significant portion of the Japanese sniper force over 4 consecutive days. The bureaucratic machinery of wartime documentation seldom captured the quiet heroism of individuals, and Warren's campaign was no exception. When historians later examined the Luzon campaign, the battalion's progress was noted, the successful engagement of Japanese positions recorded, and casualty lists enumerated. But Warren's specific role, the single rifle that had altered the tactical balance in that jungle corridor, was largely omitted. It became one of those footnotes of history, a detail lost amidst the broader narrative of divisions, regiments, and strategic objectives. Still, for the men who survived, the story endured. Around evening fires, in whispered conversations while maintaining perimeter watches, Warren's actions were recounted, embellished in detail by memory, yet never overstated in principle. They spoke of the mail-order rifle that had become a weapon of precision, of the calm demeanor of the man behind it, of the patience that had sustained him through hours and days, when every second could mean life or death. These narratives, passed quietly among soldiers, were a testament to the human element often ignored in historical accounts, the combination of skill, instinct, and resolve that no official record could fully encapsulate. The legacy of those 4 days extended beyond the immediate tactical impact. Japanese forces, already constrained and overextended, faced the subtle yet powerful psychological consequence of knowing that even a single soldier, armed with unconventional equipment and guided by extraordinary patience, could exact a lethal toll. In subsequent operations along Luzon's northern ridges, Japanese snipers became more cautious, repositioning frequently, less willing to engage. The forest had lost some of its absolute dominance as a tool of concealment. A quiet shift had occurred, and though invisible on official maps, its effects rippled through subsequent engagements. Warren himself survived the campaign. He continued to serve quietly, moving from one engagement to the next, his rifle still in hand. There was no fanfare upon his return home. No parade, no official photograph, no medals pinned to his chest. The war had moved on, claiming headlines, shaping public perception, and leaving small acts of valor buried in the shadows. Yet in the decades that followed, veterans of the Luzon campaign would occasionally speak of Warren. They recounted how he had measured distances, tracked subtle movements, and chosen the precise moment to fire with unwavering discipline. They remembered his calm demeanor under relentless pressure and the way a single rifle, once dismissed, had neutralized 11 enemy snipers over 4 days. In these stories, often shared around quiet gatherings or private reunions, the rifle was not simply a weapon. It was a symbol of precision, patience, and human determination. Historians, when piecing together the Luzon campaign, would eventually recognize the broader tactical significance of such engagements. Small actions, isolated incidents, could have disproportionate effects on supply lines, troop morale, and enemy behavior. Warren's campaign, though largely unrecorded in official accounts, exemplified this principle. The cumulative effect of eliminating 11 snipers was not merely the removal of immediate threats. It was the restoration of operational confidence, the preservation of lives, and the subtle rebalancing of a precarious tactical situation. In many ways, this episode reflected the quiet, often unseen nature of war. History remembers generals, divisions, and major operations. It rarely remembers the individual decisions made in mud, rain, and dense jungle foliage, the patience that allows a single man to alter events in profound ways. And yet, these small, almost invisible actions can ripple outward, influencing strategy, morale, and the course of campaigns in ways that official records cannot fully convey. The rifle, now cleaned, oiled, and carefully stored, became a private relic of the campaign. Not a trophy, not a prize, but a testament to what had been accomplished under impossible odds. Each scratch and dent told the story of a soldier who had endured 4 days of near-constant engagement, calculating, observing, waiting, and striking with lethal precision. Eli Warren lived with this quiet knowledge for the rest of his life. The jungle of Luzon, dense and unforgiving, had tested him to the limits of endurance, skill, and nerve. He had emerged alive, having reshaped a small corner of the battlefield in a way few could recognize, and fewer would ever document. Yet the memory and the lessons embedded in it persisted, not in official records, but in the minds of those who survived and in the subtle shifts it created in enemy behavior. History, in its broad strokes, often overlooks the individual moments that define human courage. It seldom pauses to consider the solitary soldier, lying prone in mud and rain, armed with a civilian rifle, who musters patience against unseen enemies over 4 grueling days. Yet it is precisely these moments, these quiet, disciplined, unheralded acts, that exemplify the profound impact one person can have within the machinery of war. In the end, the story of Warren and his mail-order rifle is not merely a tale of bullets and targets. It is a story of perseverance under pressure, of calculated patience, and of the subtle ways individual action shapes events far beyond its immediate scope. The jungles of Luzon had swallowed much of the evidence of those 4 days. Photographs, reports, and citations failed to capture the full measure of the danger faced and the precision employed. And yet, in the hearts and memories of those who lived, and in the faint echoes of tactical influence on the enemy, the impact endured. As the sun finally pierced the canopy that morning, casting long, thin shadows across the forest floor. The jungle was still. The rifles were cleaned, the men rested, and the corridor once dominated by unseen threats was now passable. 11 Japanese snipers had fallen. One soldier and his mail-order rifle had survived, their effectiveness a quiet but undeniable force within the broader war effort. And for the few who remembered, the lesson was clear. In war as in life, patience, precision, and quiet determination can achieve what numbers, status, and standard equipment alone cannot. The jungle had tested one man, and one rifle, and found them capable of changing the course of a small, crucial theater in ways history almost forgot.